It's terrible. There's snow all over the ground, a number of snow drifts on the way to the crash, about 2 or 3 foot deep. There's very heavy cloud, and visibility was down to about 20 to 30 yards at the time, and it was only when we were a few yards away from the scene of the crash that we could actually see anything.
What were conditions like actually there in the wreckage?
Oh, it was terrible.
Were there still some people to bring out of the wreckage?
Everybody was thrown clear of the wreckage except the stewardess who was sat in the back of the aircraft.
Was she badly hurt?
No, she wasn't badly hurt. I think she was suffering mainly from shock.
Were there any other women aboard?
No, she...
On its way from Bristol, on its way from the Isle of Man to Manchester. Its passengers were motor traders on their way to a trade exhibition in Manchester. The plane took off from Ronaldsway in the Isle of Man soon after 9 o'clock, and an hour later it crashed. It crashed here, 200 yards south of Winter Hill television station. All available ambulances were sent to the scene, but it took 2 hours to reach a point several hundred yards from the mast. And now here is film taken only less than an hour after the crash. It was in conditions very much like these that the search for those who might still be alive and for those who died in the crash went on. So great was the impact of the crash that the fuselage appeared to break in 3 places, and very little was recognizable as component parts of an aeroplane. As the search went on, snowplows carved away up the moors for the ambulances. They got almost there, but then mountain rescue teams had to take over. And now for a fuller report, over to Alan Dixon, who is on the spot near the scene of the crash. What do you mean? The weather was perfect. Well, the fight has been on all this afternoon. All this afternoon, out trying to get the dead and the injured down from the crash up on Winter Hill, about 3 miles away. And the fight has been won by not only the police and the firemen and the rescue squads, which have done such wonderful work, but also by the volunteer squads. And with them, I've got 3 men here who took part in the fight. In the first case is John Sanderson, the local innkeeper. And John, when did you first know of this?
Well, 2 of my neighbours, Jack Spate and John Shawcross, came charging into my place about 20 past 10 this morning, and yelled out there's been a plane crash on the moors, grabbed some spades and come on, you see, and before I knew where I was bundled into the van with a spade, and we had a hair-raising drive up the hill, and we got there, the quarry men and the mechanical digger had already started operations, and we whipped in with those, and we got into these drifts.
And what did you see when you got there?
We had a battle through these drifts, and we eventually got to the road through to the television station, and by that time, of course, the ambulances followed, and we had a lot of people around, and I saw 2 of the injured. I saw 2 of the injured being brought out. I think the first one was the pilot. He passed very close to me, and I said, "Hard luck, old chap. I hope you're doing okay." He just turned and smiled, and I think he meant to thank him.
Thank you very much, John. Moving over to Ken Molyneux, first of all. Ken, when did you get the first warning?
Well, about 10 minutes past 10 in the morning this morning. We heard the fire engine going past, and Mr. Arthur, our manager, he ran out and followed the fire engine, knowing very well he couldn't get very far. So shortly afterwards that, he came back to us and ordered all the men had required to go along with the digger to make a load. Well, we followed that. Well, there were large drifts, so 6 foot long, 6 foot high.
And the man in charge of the digger at that time was our friend over here, was Tom Pilkington. Tom, how far did you go through the drifts?
Well, we went through the drifts about a mile and a half of it. Some of the drifts were 5 or 6 feet deep.
Yeah, and how long did it take you?
It was about an hour and a half.
Well, you did a magnificent job, all of you. Thanks a lot. It has been a wonderful day's work.
Thank you very much.
And with that, back to London. There's been a big improvement in road conditions, and only in Yorkshire and Norfolk